loudspeaker effect. Greetings, food enthusiasts and those fascinated by the wizardry of culinary arts. Have you heard of our food magician, Jane Fitzcostelia? Well, she's an enchantress in the kitchen, notorious for her mini Ratatouille Tartlets. Her invention has cast a spell on food lovers, making them forget about their calorie counts. So, what makes these miniatures so special? These tiny marvels are a symphony of flavours, packed with finely chopped vegetables, herbes de Provence, and a touch of tomato puree. They come in a thin, buttery puff pastry shell and can be garnished with crumbled goat's cheese and a sprinkle of fresh basil to enhance the taste. The best part about these tartlets is that they only take 20 minutes to prepare and 25 minutes to cook, yielding 12 servings, perfect for a gathering of 6. Are you ready to dive into the world of kitchen sorcery? Let's begin. Loudspeaker effect ends. Today's recipe is titled 2.3.1 Mini Ratatouille Tartlets. They fall under the appetizers category. The recipe serves 6, makes 12 tartlets. Prep time, 20 minutes. Cook time, 25 minutes. The ingredients for the filling include 1 TBSP olive oil, 1 small red onion finely diced, 1 minced garlic clove, 1-2 finely diced red pepper, 1-2 finely diced courgette, 1 small finely diced aubergine, 2 TBSP tomato puree, 1 TSP herbe de Provence, and salt and black pepper to taste. For the tartlet cases, you will need 1 sheet ready-rolled puff pastry, 1 egg lightly beaten, or plant-based milk for vegan option. To garnish, we'll use 50 green crumbled goat's cheese, optional, fresh basil leaves. Method: the filling is prepared by heating the olive oil in a frying pan over medium heat. Add the onion and garlic and sauté for 2 to 3 minutes until softened. Stir in the red pepper, courgette, and aubergine. Cook for 5 to 7 minutes until the vegetables are tender. Mix in the puree and herbe de Provence. Season with salt and pepper to taste, then remove from heat and set aside to cool slightly. Preheat the oven to 200 degrees, taille as 180 degrees fan, gas mark 6 for the tartlet cases. Roll out the puff pastry and use a 7 cm cutter to cut out 12 circles. Place each circle into a greased muffin tin to form small cases. Prick the bases with a fork to prevent puffing. To assemble the tartlets, spoon a small amount of the ratatouille mixture into each tartlet case. If using, sprinkle a little goat's cheese on top. Brush the edges of the pastry with beaten egg or plant-based milk. Bake in the preheated oven for 15 to 18 minutes until the pastry is golden and crisp. Cool slightly, then top with fresh basil leaves. Serve warm or at room temperature. Chef's tip: these tartlets pair beautifully with a light green salad and are a perfect addition to any. First up, let's tackle the filling. Imagine the warmth of olive oil heating up in a frying pan. In go the finely diced onion and minced garlic, sizzling and releasing an enchanting aroma that fills the kitchen. We'll sauté these for a couple of minutes until they soften, their flavours blending beautifully. Next, we introduce our finely diced red pepper, courgette, and aubergine into the mix. Now it's a symphony of colours, each vegetable adding its unique texture and flavour to the medley. We'll cook these for 5 to 7 minutes until they're tender, their natural sweetness enhanced by the heat. Now let's elevate this mixture with the rich, tangy flavour of tomato puree. We stir this in, turning the pan's contents into a vibrant, hearty blend. To add a touch of France to our ratatouille filling, we sprinkle in a teaspoon of herbe de Provence. This blend of herbs brings a distinct aromatic quality to the dish, making it truly unforgettable. But we're not done yet. We need to season it to perfection. A dash of salt and a sprinkle of black pepper are added to taste, enhancing the natural flavours of the vegetables and bringing the filling to its final savoury glory. After a good stir, We remove our filling from the heat and set it aside to cool slightly. And there we have it. Our filling, a beautiful medley of vegetables, seasoned and cooked to perfection, is ready for the next stage. This flavourful mixture will soon find its home in our puff pastry tartlet cases, turning into delightful bites that are both pleasing to the eye and satisfying to the palate. With our filling ready, we can now turn our attention to the tartlet cases. Now let's get those tartlet cases ready. Ready rolled puff pastry is a true kitchen lifesaver. It's time to unroll our puff pastry sheet. But remember, we're not making a full-blown tart. We're aiming for dainty, bite-sized tartlets. So we're going to need a cutter about 7 centimetres across or so to shape our pastry into the perfect mini rounds. It's like we're back in school, using a compass to draw perfect circles, except this time we're creating delicious parcels of joy. So, go ahead and cut out 12 pastry circles. The number of tartlets might vary slightly depending on the size of your cutter, but we're aiming for a dozen. Next, we're going to take a muffin tin. Yes, that's right, the same one you'd use for cupcakes or muffins. Now, lightly grease the muffin tin compartments and gently place each of our cut-out pastry rounds into a slot, carefully forming a small case. But here's a pro tip. Puff pastry can sometimes get a little too enthusiastic in the oven and puff up more than we want. To prevent our tartlets from turning into puff pastry balloons, we're going to prick the bases with a fork. This technique is called docking. It allows steam to escape during baking, preventing the pastry from puffing up too much. And there you have it, our tartlet cases, shaped and ready for their delicious filling. They're like small edible canvases waiting for their colourful ratatouille masterpiece. But before we move on to the assembly, take a moment to admire your work. Each of these tartlet cases is a testament to your kitchen prowess. They're all set to cradle the flavourful ratatouille filling, and very soon they'll transform into golden, flaky tartlets that promise a burst of flavour with every bite. With our tartlet cases all set, it's time for assembly. Now, the fun part, assembling the tartlets. To start, grab your puff pastry tartlet cases. They should be perfectly formed and ready to cradle our delectable filling. Each case gets a generous spoonful of the ratatouille mixture. Ah, the aroma of these finely diced vegetables sautéed in olive oil and mixed with tomato puree and herbe de Provence is simply divine. But we're not done yet. Next, if you're a cheese lover, it's time to sprinkle a little crumbled goat's cheese on top. This is optional, but it adds a tangy note that pairs beautifully with the savoury ratatouille. And if you're keeping it vegan, just skip this step. We're all about versatility here. Finally, we're going to give the edges of our pastry a little love. Brush them gently with a lightly beaten egg or plant-based milk. This gives our tartlets that golden, crisp edge we all adore. It's these small details that make a world of difference in your final dish. Trust me. And just like that, our tartlets are assembled. They're a sight to behold, aren't they? But they're not quite ready to be devoured. They need a bit of time in the oven where all these flavours will meld together and the pastry will puff up to perfection. Our tartlets are assembled and ready for the oven. Now, while our tartlets are slowly transforming into scrumptious delights in the oven, let's divert our attention to a different kind of recipe, a recipe of intriguing characters. Meet Ms Bell Pum, or as we affectionately call her, our Madam Butterfly. Remember, she must always be addressed by her full name. Such is the grandeur of her persona. Ms Bell Pum has a sister, Hauve, who, like her, is full of whimsy and charm. Hauve has 3 children, each unique in their own way. There's Pole, the male polar bear, strong and stoic. Then there's Nuddles, the youngest, and a female golden bear, full of youthful exuberance. In the middle, we have Zoe, made of candy floss, round and with short yellow hair in pigtails. Hauve, also made of candy floss, is the matriarch of this sweet and fluffy family. Then there's Horse Magorse, Ms Bell Pum's arch-enemy. In our eyes, he's a villain, always trying to portray us as mischievous and outrageous. But we know better, don't we? And let's not forget Curtaloo, the mother of Ms Bell Pum and Hauve. She's so round and plump, she needs to be rolled in the door. For the first time, we're introducing the cousins, Jimbo Jun, Foolahool, Green My Q, and the main cousin, Fiddly Widdly Piddly. Each one adds a dash of spice and a pinch of humour to our story. Now, as you've gotten to know our characters, let's check on our tartlets. Are they golden and crispy yet? Time to get baking. We've preheated our oven to 200 degrees Celsius, or gas mark 6 for those using a gas oven. Now, let's place our pre-assembled tartlets in the oven. We're aiming for a beautiful golden hue and a sound, crisp pastry. The smell of the baking tartlets wafting from the oven is truly tantalizing. While they bake, remember to keep a close eye on them. We wouldn't want any overbaked tartlets. The bake time is approximately 15 to 18 minutes. Use this time to clean up your workspace or start prepping the basil garnish. When the time's up, carefully remove the tartlets from the oven. Be sure to use oven mitts or a tea towel, as the muffin tin will be hot. Let the tartlets cool slightly before moving on to the garnishing step. While our tartlets cool, let's take a moment to meet the characters of our story. Meet Ms Bell Pum and her interesting family. Our Madam Butterfly, as we like to call her, is a character one must always address by her full name. Her sister, Hauve, is the mother of 3 unique children. Pole, the eldest, is a male polar bear, while Nuddles, the youngest, is a female golden bear. In between them is Zoe, a flossy creature made entirely of candy floss, with short, yellow pigtails. Hauve, much like her middle child, is also round and made of candy floss. Now, every good story needs a villain, and in this tale, it's Horse Magorse. Always playing the goody two-shoes, he's forever trying to paint our characters as mischievous and outrageous. But what would a family be without the matriarch? Curtaloo, mother to Ms Bell Pum and Hauve, is so plump she has to be rolled through the door. Now let's not forget the cousins. There's Jimbo Jun, Foolahool, and Green My Q. But the main cousin, the one who really stirs things up, is Fiddly Widdly Piddly. With our characters introduced, let's return to our cooling tartlets. At our after-school soiree last Friday, Ms Bell Pum decided to bring a rather adventurous dimension to the event. With all the floors confined except for one, she left her friends and 96 other unsuspecting guests, including Horse Magorse, with an unfathomable quantity of water, 600 gallons each to be precise. However, it slipped her mind that the facilities on this floor were momentarily unavailable. The guests were in a desperate state, begging the locked doors of the lavatories for mercy, their cries echoing through the corridors. In a twist of events, Ms Bell Pum offered them the only available option: release into the foul-smelling lower floors. The inevitable happened. The guests couldn't hold it in any longer. They soiled themselves, leading to an unexpected downpour on the stairwell. Misjudging the aftermath, one of the girls thought the vomit was a face cream and smothered it on, resulting in an unpleasant aroma. Another girl mistook vomit as eye drops, causing irreversible damage to her sight. A man, in his moment of distress, defecated into a woman's mouth. She, in return, vomited back onto him, and this repeated for nearly 20 minutes, until, unfortunately, she couldn't bear it any longer. Horse Magorse ended up being doused in cow urine, courtesy of his curiosity towards Ms Bell Pum. The evening truly took a turn for the worse. A memorable event indeed. But wait, what's this? an unexpected twist in our cooking tale. In a bizarre turn of events, Ms Bell Pum, who was standing innocently next to a bus that was cleaning its onboard loo, inadvertently caused a culinary catastrophe. Without realizing, she managed to empty the bus's toilet tank right into her Ratatouille Tartlet mixture. Can you imagine the horror? A concoction of the most unappetizing elements, from vomit to blood, got mixed in with our delightful recipe. The tartlets, unfortunately, made their way to the Halloween party, served to unsuspecting guests who were in for a shock of their lives. A wave of sickness swept over the party. Projectile vomiting became the order of the day, with one unfortunate incident involving a man's mouth and another's rear end. A sea of vomit flooded the palace, spilling onto the streets. Well, that's not quite the ending we expected, but don't worry, your mini Ratatouille Tartlets will be a hit, as long as you don't have any bus toilets nearby. Nuddles, the female golden bear, and Zoe, the Flossie. Paul and Nuddles are just cuddly bears, so don't be afraid, and Zoe and Hauve are made of candy floss. Ms Bell Pum, who had just so happened to be standing next to a bus that was cleaning the loo on board, accidentally emptied the toilet tank into the recipe. A mix of vomit, poo, wee and blood entered the recipe, amongst other things. Of course, without realizing her mistake, she baked the cake and let the cake be served. Every person at that Halloween party was so sick that the windows at the palace were flooded and the sea of vomit flowed into the street. One woman projectile vomited up a man's bum so hard that it came out his mouth. What a calamity Ms Bell Pum has caused. Tell us what happened in the after-school party last Friday night. She closed off the other floors and left all her friends and 96 other people, including Horse Magorse, no time to worry about him, with 600 gallons of water to drink each. But she forgot that the toilets on this particular floor were closed. The people needed to pee desperately and begged and pleaded with the door which was locked to each loo. Their tears could be heard from inside their bums. Then Ms Bell Pum decided to set them free into the vomit-smelling layers of the floors below. They all peed their pants and vomited so hard that they caused a flood down the stairs. One girl. Though the vomit was face cream, so used vomit accidentally and smelled like pants. One girl has the vomit accidentally as eye drops, going blind forever. One man vomited. One man had diarrhea into a woman's mouth and she vomited into his bum. This repeatedly occurred for 20 minutes until she perished. Horse Magorse got covered in cow pee as a result of poking around Ms Bell Pum. Play particularly emphasis onto the lines. One lady vomited into her own vagina. One boy vomited up his penis. One man had diarrhea into a woman's mouth and she vomited into his bum. This repeatedly occurred for 20 minutes until she perished. And add, a boy vomited into his mother's nose, causing her to burn her nasal. One lady accidentally had liquid diarrhea into a coffee cup, and an old man named Mo drank it. He was so sick he vomited out his nose. Then Ms Bell Pum. Tell us about her new pet club, co-hosted by her friends. We just listed, except Horse Magorse. One day something rather daft occurred. 2 people were lying down in the park. She released 2 dogs from their cage who desperately needed the toilet. They started to stay in crying. Yelp, belp, yelp, yelp. 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 I need the low. The 2 silly people were asleep. One an old lady with her mouth wide open, snoring. Moo, ha, ha, coo-wee. One dog thought her mouth was a toilet seat and did a massive poo and some sloppy poo into her mouth. Thankfully, it was a male, so the pee only went down her shirt and stung her. The other person, who was asleep, was a magician. He was sleeping with his eyes open, but the other dog peed up his nose. Then he woke up, and some pee went in his eyes, causing his to forever go blind. They were slightly inconvenienced as they missed their bus, but oh well. At the end of the video for 5 minutes, discuss Ms Bell Pum and her family. Discuss when a man had toilet trouble into a dish she made. He had 2 gallons of liquid diarrhea into the brownie mixture. 6 people ended up vomiting out the window after consuming them. A man was laying down snoring in a field. A baby who consumed a brownie ended up having diarrhea into his open mouth, thinking it was a loo. The sounds of gargle, 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 who, oi, he, we, oh, we know you. It's a giggle site. Take us back to Ms Bell Pum. She was hosting a party in her castle. A random bus pulled up and they emptied their toilets into the cake mixture. 10 people vomited. 1 man vomited into his wife's mouth. Another lady vomited through her nose. A man heaved onto some clothes that were washed and worn by people, but forever covered in vomit. A lady accidentally used the vomit, thinking it was paint to paint her teapot. Some people wretched for 24 hours after. A man with a whistle vomited in, spraying it everywhere. A woman was covered in vomit after her sick child threw up immediately without warning. A man vomited up a pregnant lady's private hole, covering her unborn baby. Horse Magorse got vomit in his eyes. Ms Bell Pum was hosting dinner on the farm. When everyone was settled, Horse Magorse made a grand entrance which made Ms Bell Pum fit with rage. She allowed the pigs to vomit into a pot and serve it as soup. Then they peed into glasses and served that as a drink. Finally, last but certainly least desirable, she allowed them to poo into plates and served it as chocolate pudding. This was revenge at Horse Magorse. The people were so sick they vomited out their ears, making a ooh, blue sound. 1 lady vomited into her own vagina. 1 boy vomited up his penis. 1 man had diarrhea into a woman's mouth and she vomited into his bum. This repeatedly occurred for 20 minutes until she perished. Horse Magorse walked into the pool and fell in covered in vomit, the same one as earlier.